It's a new edition of the Retro Hunting Adventures with some new pickups for NES and Famicom. Stay tuned after these introductory words from MegaManFan.
Yo, this is MegaManFan, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
So we've got a rather mixed assortment this week on RHA, including the Black Bass 2, aka Black Bass USA, Mahjong for Famicom, Friends, the one with all the trivia. And before I get to unboxing the Data East All-Star Collection, I thought I should mention that I won't be showing off any footage of this game because I do not want the copyright strike, especially when that theme song from Friends comes on. You all know it, you've all heard it. It's not even going to be possible for me to edit any footage because this game actually includes clips from the show and not just the theme music. So just take my word for it that at $3.99 it seemed just crazy enough. And a 37-year-old Famicom game for Mahjong, that seemed just crazy enough. I was in one of those random moods where I was like, what can I pick up that doesn't cost too much? $2 for a Mahjong game, that's about right. $2 for the Black Bass 2, that's about right. Now, Black Bass came out in Japan, but the sequel, Black Bass 2, it came out as Black Bass in North America. They skipped over the first one, went right to the second one, and then localized it as Black Bass USA. Why they did that, who knows? But then we have the Data East All-Star Collection with 5 games: Bad Dudes, Side Pocket, Ring King, Buggy Popper, and Burgertime. Now you're probably thinking most of those sound familiar, except for Buggy Popper. You're thinking, what the heck is Buggy Popper? Well, I'll explain when we get to the actual gameplay footage in just a little bit. But maybe you can make it out from the screenshot there. You might be able to figure out what's going on. And as you can see, this is shrink wrapped, and it didn't set me back too much. I think it was like $20 for this complete inbox. And it also comes with some goodies inside besides just the 5-in-1 cartridge. You'll see that in just a moment, but I decided this was unique enough to add to my collection because even though I have all of these games individually, I like the idea of a compilation of quote-unquote all-star Data East games for Nintendo on one cartridge. There's only one downside to that approach, though. There's no in-game hooks to get you back to the main menu when you're done playing one of the games. You have to actually get up, reset your Nintendo, and start from scratch. So if you were hoping that this would be like, oh, I get tired of one game, I can switch to the other, you're out of luck in that respect. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And what it is inside is a couple of collector's pins. Let me pull those out and show them to you. They're kind of stuffed in a little tray here at the top. Let me just go on the record as saying the swag alone is not the reason to own this, because I think they are value added, but you really want to buy the 5 games for $20 more than get this Burgertime pin and this Ring King pin. Those don't amount to $20 in value. No. I'm just being nice about it. I could be more explicit than that, but just assume you're paying about $4 a game, and it's probably less than you would pay for buying all of these games individually from a game store, plus the cost of shipping. In fact, it's quite possible that 2 of the 5 games included might equal the price of all 5 in one all by itself. Not a traditional manual on the inside here. It's more of a fold-out poster. Not sure I like that approach as opposed to a stapled manual, but I imagine it's a cost-saving measure to print it all front and back on the side of each sheet of the paper and then just fold it up. The cartridge doesn't have any label on the back either. Nothing about don't immerse it in liquids or store it at extreme temperatures. So, pretty unexciting on the back. But there is more excitement in the box. There is a generic looking sleeve and some stickers. Burgertime stickers with individual pieces of the burger that you can actually stack up: a patty, a cheese slice, a lettuce, and the sesame seed bun, top and bottom. So, that's it for what's inside. I think without further ado, we should get to some footage of Buggy Popper. As you can see, we've got a pretty generic looking menu screen, no music playing, and 5 different games you can select from. But what is Buggy Popper? Why does that name not seem right? Well, it's pretty clear once you get into the actual game that this is Bump and Jump. And I thought, oh, maybe they couldn't license the Bump and Jump name for some reason. Perhaps if I pull up the Bump and Jump ROM in an emulator, it'll look different. No, it says Buggy Popper too. So I have to assume my NES cartridge of Bump and Jump would also say Buggy Popper. And I have a feeling this is just a localization issue where they thought there's no need to change the name other than to westernize it a little bit, and then we'll just release the ROM exactly the same as it is, because they didn't even change kilometers per hour to miles per hour for a Western audience. It's Bump and Jump. It's the Bump and Jump you know that you've played in arcades, but it's just a very, pardon my saying so, lazy localization. So I just didn't remember that it comes up as Buggy Popper when you pop the cartridge in your Nintendo. That's what happens. That's what happens on an emulator too, and that's what happens here. But I guess they just decided, for the sake of accuracy, they would keep the original Famicom name of Buggy Popper and leave it that way, and just call it that on the box, even though more people here would know it as Bump and Jump. If they played it on their NES, it was called Bump and Jump when they bought it. If they played it in arcades, it was called Bump and Jump when they put quarters into it. So it's just lost in localization. It's one of those things that happens. It's a pretty simple game. You do the 2 things that the title says. You bump other cars off the road, and you jump over passages in the road that are broken up by water or bridges. And you can also land on cars when you jump to destroy them. It's not bad. It's not great either. It's not one of those games that I fondly remember and come back to often, which I think is sort of telling about the Data East collection as a whole. Like, I don't come back to Ring King or Side Pocket that much. I might with Bad Dudes and Burgertime, but 2 out of the 5 may not be reason enough to own this multi-cart for some people. Maybe you would be better off just buying Burgertime and Bad Dudes individually, depending on what they go for these days. Next up, we have Black Bass 2, aka Black Bass USA. It's weird that they didn't even try to localize Black Bass 1 and skip straight over it to Black Bass 2 and then brought it to the USA as Black Bass. But can't say there's not precedent for that, given that Square released Final Fantasy 2 and 3 in Japan and didn't even try to localize them for North America. So when we finally got Final Fantasy 4, it was released for Super Nintendo as Final Fantasy 2. I'm going to be honest here and say I left the music out of this game on purpose because it's repetitive and annoying, and I could only take it for so long, so I thought, I'm not going to torture you with listening to the music that I had to listen to. I'll just leave it out. I'm also going to say that this is an extremely tedious game. I used the North American localization so you could at least understand what was going on, like when it says the fish goes away, but I can't even figure out how to get the fish to stay. I'm jiggling the lure, I'm moving it around, I'm reeling it in, I'm doing anything I can to lure these fish to come up to it. I'm even just trying leaving it alone and doing nothing, and the fish won't bite. What good is a fishing game if you can't catch a fish? That seems like an existential question, doesn't it? But it really has no answer here with Black Bass 2. So the reason I own this Famicom game is simply for the oddity of the fact that they skipped over 1, made 2, and then labeled it Black Bass USA in the credits when they ported it to North America. Go figure. Now, I was hoping with Mahjong I could show you footage via emulator instead of running it on my top loader through a Famicom converter, but as it would turn out, there's not a single version of Mahjong for emulator that I can make work. They all come up to a black screen, and I do not know why. But even in an emulator, I'm not sure it would make that much difference, because this is a lot like that 4-nin Chin Chin Mahjong Famicom game that I showed you that was like Family Mahjong for 4 players, where it's some kind of poker where you're betting on hands and whoever draws and lays out the best hand wins. It's not Mahjong where you match 2 tiles, pick them up, move them, and then match 2 more and pick them up and move them. So once again, I mistook what I thought a Mahjong game would be for what it actually was. But yet this is one of the earliest Famicom releases, so as a historical artifact, I consider it worth owning, especially given it's 37 years old and still works. Although it didn't work without some serious cleaning. This one took a lot of Q-tips and a lot of rubbing alcohol, and you should have seen how black those Q-tips were when I got finished. So here you go, it's footage of Mahjong, which doesn't work on an emulator for God knows what reason, but it works on my top loader, so it's certainly not the game. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.